Hey, Casas Dobie's Pastor John here, and I wanted to talk to you about Fun Day School and what we will be studying. We got a couple of stories, and it's all about the God of surprises. God loves to surprise us with the wonderful way God creates the world. And so we have two stories. Two stories. The first story is about Samuel, who we heard from last week. Remember, the people wanted a king, and he said, "No, you don't want a king." And they're like, "We want a king." And so he said, "Okay, you'll get a king." Well, that king didn't work out. So this week, they're looking for a replacement for King Saul. And so Samuel is directed by God to go to a man named Jesse, who has a bunch of sons, and he's supposed to pick a king from all of these sons. Well, he sees the first one. He looks great, perfect king material, tall and strong and just looking really great. And Samuel's like, "Oh, I think we found our king." God says, "Nope, he's not the right one." And okay, let's bring in another one. And Samuel's like, "Boy, ay que suave. He looks good. He'll be a great one." Nope, doesn't work out. God says, "No, go down the line. All the sons, they look perfect, but none of them work out." God says no. So finally, Samuel says, "You have any other sons?" And Jesse said, "Well, I have David, and he's out in the field. He's just a little kid." So he said, "Go bring him." So they bring him, and David is all dirty and been out in the field with the sheep, looking like a ragamuffin. And they bring him in, and God says, "That's the king. That's the one we want." And so Samuel proclaims him, and they make David a king, even though he's just a little kid. Surprise! That is the God of surprises. You got all these guys who would make great kings and don't work out. It's David. It's David, the one they want. In the gospel, we hear Jesus tell a story about what the reign of God is like. And Jesus said, "The reign of God is like a mustard seed." And I don't know if you can see these little tiny mustard seeds in my hand. I'm trying to get a good, there they are. Little tiny mustard seeds. And he said, because when they go into a field, they grow into a great bush. And then the birds of the air can make nests in it and shade themselves. And it's funny because people think that this mustard seed makes like this huge tree. It really doesn't. It makes sort of this bush, uh, sort of like a creosote bush, maybe as big as a Palo Verde tree, but it's just from a little tiny seed. The thing about the mustard seed and the mustard tree is that it makes lots of seeds, lots and lots and lots. And it takes over fields. It's a weed. It takes over the fields like a weed. And if you're a farmer and all of a sudden you get a mustard plant in your field and it drops all its seeds all over, you keep getting more and more and more and more. You can't control it. And then if it brings birds in, and Jesus doesn't mention it, but it also brings in little rodents and little critters, maybe things you weren't expecting, but part of God's creation. And it transforms. It transforms, and it doesn't take up root very easily and keeps spreading and spreading and spreading with all of those seeds, and it keeps multiplying. Let me see if I can get a better look at them here. Here's a little spoonful of them. You can see all of those mustard seeds right there. So, okay. All right. So that's what God's way is. It keeps going and growing and growing, and you can't stop it. And that's a surprise because this little tiny seed can take over a whole field, just the way God's reign can take over our lives and become a really wonderful, transforming thing. So, Mr. Patrick is teaching on Sunday for Fun Day School. And so in the meantime, I want you to be well, be safe, and of course, be a blessing, and I will see you then. Peace.